You were not born with a price tag on your soul. No dollar sign etched into your DNA. You arrived whole, infinite, woven from the same cosmic fabric that births galaxies and stars. Yet somewhere between your first breath and your first bill, a spell was cast. Not with wands or potions, but through whispers and wounds. A spell that convinced you money was outside of you. Something to chase, to earn, to beg for. This spell has a name: separation. And today, it breaks. Money doesn't flow to those who chase it. It rushes toward those who embody it. Like a magnet, pulling metal without effort. Like planets circling the sun without strain. The wealthy aren't luckier or smarter. They've simply remembered what you forgot. That money isn't paper in your pocket. It's energy responding to your frequency. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the weight of this truth. Every dollar you've ever gained or lost was a perfect mirror of your subconscious signal. Not what you said you wanted, what you truly believed you deserved. The world you inhabit isn't the world that is. Beneath the surface lies a deeper system. And the currency it runs on isn't dollars, it's frequency. Everything you've believed about wealth is merely a reflection of the trance you were placed under. A trance reinforced through exhausted sighs of parents who told you money doesn't grow on trees. Through sermons warning that wealth corrupts. Through institutions that taught you how to count but never how to receive. You internalized it all. That money equals survival. That struggle is noble. That sacrifice is love. But what if none of it was ever true? What if money, in its purest essence, is simply energy? Alive, intelligent, magnetic, responding not to effort, but to alignment. This isn't fantasy, it's the foundation of everything you've missed. Strip money of its numbers, its ink, its metallic gleam, and what remains? A collective agreement, a shared illusion. A myth we've all sworn to uphold. It has no roots in soil, no breath in wind, yet it moves nations, divides families, ignites wars, and dictates self-worth. But beneath its glittering mask lies a haunting truth. Money isn't backed by gold, not by effort, not by hours clocked or sweat poured. It is backed by belief. You are handed a script, go to school, follow rules, work until your bones forget how to rest, and maybe, just maybe, you'll earn enough to feel safe. But safety was never the goal. Control was. Because a being who believes money is hard to earn will trade freedom for crumbs and call it success. You were conditioned not just to work, but to worship a false god made of paper. To earn your right to exist through productivity, to equate your time with value, your exhaustion with merit. But look closer. How can something so fragile hold so much power? The answer is simple. It doesn't. You do. Your belief gives it breath. Your fear gives it fangs. Your silence gives it sovereignty over your life. This system was never neutral. It was designed to reward compliance and punish deviation. To glorify grind and vilify ease. You were never meant to question it, only to participate. And so you did, trading time for tokens, sacrificing joy for security, burying intuition beneath deadlines and debt. You played a game that was never yours, using rules designed to keep you tired, obedient, and perpetually reaching. But here's what they hoped you'd never discover. Value isn't inherent in money itself. It's a projection of consciousness, a story told with conviction until it calcifies into reality. That's why markets crash on whispers and currencies collapse on doubt. Belief is the true economy, and when belief crumbles, so does the system built upon it. This is why the wealthy play by different rules. Not because they know more math, but because they understand the game is energetic. They bend reality because they believe they can. They don't ask permission to receive, they assume it. And that assumption shifts the field around them. You've been told wealth is earned through sacrifice, but in truth, wealth is reflected through certainty, not arrogance, but alignment. The world doesn't pay you for your pain. It mirrors the frequency you emit. The person who walks into a room already knowing they are enough activates a different timeline than the one who arrives asking to be chosen. You are not here to be chosen. You are here to choose, to reclaim the sovereign truth that your value was never in question, that money doesn't crown you, it responds to you. Not when you beg, not when you strive, but when you remember it was never outside of you to begin with. The word currency traces its origin to the Latin currere, to run, to flow. Long before money was paper in pockets or digits on screens, it was movement, a rhythm. A current meant to circulate like breath, like blood, like water returning to the sea. It was never meant to be hoarded, feared, clutched with clenched fists and anxious minds. It was meant to move, to pass through hands like sacred fire, warming all it touched. But somewhere along the way, the current was captured. Frozen, tethered, turned into a tool of control. They stopped teaching you how to let it move and taught you instead how to hold your breath. They replaced flow with fear. Governments, corporations, institutions, these aren't neutral actors. They're energetic architects who understood something you were never meant to know, that control over money is control over energy. And if they could convince you to see money as scarce, you'd never notice that the cage was never physical. It was belief, repetition, emotion. You would self-regulate, self-limit, self-sacrifice. You would become your own jailer and call it responsibility. You would fear spending as if every dollar released might be your last breath. But this isn't wealth. This is energetic suffocation. Imagine if your lungs behaved that way, inhaling with desperation and refusing to exhale. You would collapse, and this is exactly what has happened to your financial nervous system. You've been trained to inhale money with anxiety and exhale it with guilt. You've been taught that flow is dangerous, that saving is virtue, that spending is sin. But this isn't wisdom. It's a broken circuit, because when energy stops moving, it dies. Hoarded money carries the same vibration as fear. It sits, stagnates, and begins to decay the field around it. Not physically, but energetically. You may not see it, but your subconscious does. It interprets this as a lack of trust, as a refusal to participate in the divine cycle of give and receive. And so it adapts, tightens, constricts, shuts down the flow. You might call it a dry spell, a slump, bad luck, but it's none of those things. It is feedback. Your field is echoing the signal you've broadcast. I do not trust the current. And the current, like any stream, responds not to effort, but to openness. You don't force a river to flow, you clear the dam. You don't demand abundance, you prepare to receive it. But modern life mocks this truth. We build dams of debt, walls of worry, systems that teach us to chase. We've confused motion with flow, grind with alignment. But money doesn't respond to friction, it responds to coherence. If your inner world is in chaos, no amount of budgeting will stabilize your external reality. You must become the vessel that holds the current without spilling it. That means releasing the fear of loss. That means spending without the shadow of panic. That means trusting that money, like water, returns to where it is welcomed. It does not linger in the fists of fear. It dances in the palms of those who know they are already enough. And when you truly grasp this, something shifts. Not in your bank account, but in your body. The nervous system exhales. The mind softens, the dam breaks, and for the first time in years, money begins to move toward you. Not because you chased it, but because you finally remembered how to flow. Your relationship with money isn't just mental, it's cellular. It lives in your nervous system, in the hidden circuitry that formed long before you understood what a dollar was. It began in moments you barely remember. The tension in your parents' voices when bills arrived, the subtle panic that filled the room when rent was due, the quiet resentment of dreams deferred because we can't afford that. These weren't just moments. They were imprints. They formed the blueprint your body would follow for the rest of your life. Because before the mind understands, the body remembers. And when your body learns that money equals stress, that receiving equals risk, that having more means losing more, it wires itself for protection, not expansion. So no matter how many affirmations you recite, no matter how many goals you set, your nervous system still flinches when wealth gets too close. It doesn't feel safe in abundance. It braces for loss. This is why people sabotage success without realizing it. They win the contract, land the job, hit the financial milestone, and suddenly something breaks. A client backs out, a car breaks down, anxiety creeps in like smoke under the door. Not because they're cursed, but because their inner system was built to survive, not to thrive. Expansion triggers danger. Safety is found in the familiar, even if the familiar is scarcity. And unless you rewrite that code, abundance will always feel like an attack. You will chase it while fearing it. You will earn it while rejecting it. You will touch it and let it slip away, convinced that something outside of you is broken when the real issue is within. Your vessel was never prepared to hold the current. It was trained to leak, trained to collapse, trained to shrink under the weight of what it asked for. But let's go deeper. The body doesn't lie. You might say you want wealth, but your breath reveals the truth. Do you inhale fully when you think about money? Or does your chest tighten? Does your jaw clench when you look at your bank statement? Does your stomach twist at the thought of raising your prices or asking for more? These aren't flaws. They're signals, indicators that your inner world is running on a frequency of fear. And no external strategy can override that. You must go to the root. You must rebuild the vessel. This means nervous system regulation, not just through therapy or breath work, but through spiritual reclamation. You must retrain your body to feel safe in stillness, to feel deserving without effort, to feel secure without control. You must teach yourself slowly and patiently that wealth is not a threat, that receiving is not dangerous, that abundance does not have to be followed by loss. This isn't mindset work. This is embodiment. Until you feel safe to hold more, the universe cannot entrust you with more. Not because it's punishing you, but because it knows what happens when light pours into a vessel too fragile to contain it. It cracks, it fractures, it burns. This is why so many who receive wealth too quickly unravel. Not because they're unworthy, but because their energy was unprepared. So begin where all healing begins, with awareness. Not judgment, not shame. Just the quiet recognition that your body has been carrying stories you never chose. And once you see them, you can begin to choose differently. Not with force, but with love. Because the moment your system feels safe with wealth is the moment wealth begins to stay. There exists a man named Caleb, not famous, without followers or platforms or passive income funnels, but real. Or at least the part of you that still carries his story is. At 51, Caleb has walked the path of self-employment for over 2 decades, the kind of soul people summon when their world breaks apart. Pipes burst, power fails, midnight emergencies strike. Caleb appears. He moves with precision, with care, with humility, undercharging, over-delivering, never uttering a complaint. The world sees reliability, responsibility, a man fulfilling his purpose. Yet behind those steady hands and that quiet smile lives a truth he rarely confesses. A bone-deep exhaustion. Not merely physical, not simply from calloused palms or endless hours. Caleb's depletion runs energetic. For years, he's poured from a vessel never taught how to receive. Though his lips never form the words, a quiet war with money defines his existence. Wealth slips through his fingers like water through cupped hands. Emergencies materialize the moment he stands on solid ground. A repair bill, a barren season, an unexpected demand. His story cycles with cruel precision. Back to zero, back to scraping, back to mere survival. But look deeper. Caleb's struggle transcends cash flow. An identity wound festers beneath. Deep in his energetic wiring, an agreement was sealed, one he cannot consciously recall. My value lives in struggle. My worth exists in sacrifice. My rise guarantees my fall. So smallness becomes safety. Not from laziness, but from ancestral loyalty. To bloodlines, to origins, to ghosts who whisper that good men empty themselves until nothing remains. The teachings embedded in his cells: virtue equals sacrifice, ambition courts danger, wealth transforms you into someone unworthy of love. This teaching, this lie, passed through generations like a curse disguised as wisdom. His father carried it, his grandfather wore it like armor. Men who departed this world financially broken yet praised for their humility, their silent suffering, their wounds invisible to all but those who inherited them. Groundedness, Caleb calls it. But truth speaks differently. It's fear. Fear masquerading as modesty, restraint pretending to be virtue. When breakthrough edges near, ancient patterns activate. Rates lower. Yes escapes his lips while his body screams no. The mind rationalizes temporary slowness, but the reality reveals a closed circuit, a loop imprisoning him for decades. Here lies the deepest wound. Caleb stands unbroken, not unlucky, not missing some mystical formula. His system simply runs outdated code, programming declaring worth equals pain, that peace demands exhaustion as payment, that prosperity betrays your roots. Until this code receives new instructions, external circumstances remain unchanged. Income stagnates, clients drain. The sensation of drowning beneath invisible weight persists, because energy speaks only truth. And Caleb's field broadcasts a single message to the universe. Safety lives in struggle. Identity dissolves in abundance. If these words pierce your heart, recognize why. This story isn't just his, it's yours. The mask has touched your face. The burden has bent your shoulders. Those same justifications have passed your lips in darkness. But naming a pattern begins its dissolution. Unconscious becomes conscious. The spell weakens its grip. What once seemed necessary survival transforms into choice. A fresh blueprint awaiting inscription. There exist laws more ancient than any constitution, more precise than any spreadsheet. Laws governing energy, not economy. The laws of flow. They yield neither to intellect nor strategy. They bend neither for good intentions nor tight budgets. They respond only to alignment. As within, so without. As above, so below. Your outer world isn't random. It's a precise mirror of your inner state. Your dominant vibration projected outward and made visible. Money forms no exception. It stands as the clearest reflection. When you feel anxious, it tightens. When you feel safe, it expands. When you hoard from fear, it retracts. When you release with trust, it returns. This isn't philosophy, it's spiritual physics. Yet most walk through life violating these laws, wondering why nothing changes despite endless effort. They were taught money rewards action, not energy. But here lies the great misunderstanding. Action misaligned repels the very thing it seeks. You can grind 12 hours daily from scarcity and produce less than someone working 3 hours from overflow. The difference isn't hustle, it's frequency. Scarcity screams, it chases, it clutches. Abundance whispers, it trusts, it magnetizes. You've been told to save everything, spend nothing, fear the future, brace for collapse. While appearing wise, this approach proves energetically fatal. When saving stems from fear, you build not wealth but resistance. You tell the field, I don't believe more is coming. And the field, which only echoes what you believe, complies. This echo appears everywhere. Unexpected expenses, delayed payments, missed opportunities. Not punishment, proof. Proof that the universe listens to the signal, not the story. That's why alignment transcends all else. You cannot fake it. You cannot mask fear with positivity and expect abundance to flow. The current detects everything. The doubt lacing your yes, the tremble in your affirmations, whether you spend from faith or panic. It mirrors you flawlessly, without judgment. Because money, like all pure energy, remains neutral. It cares nothing for your past. It holds no interest in your mistakes. It concerns itself only with what you align with now. So, if you wish to open the flow, you must open yourself. Not your wallet, your field. You must restore circulation. Just as blood must move to sustain the body, money must move to maintain your energetic health. Hoarding resembles energetic anemia. It starves the soul. Giving from power, freely, joyfully, without fear resets the current. This builds magnetic trust with the universe. Not blind generosity, not martyrdom. Intentional release. You breathe in, you breathe out, you receive, you give. This forms the cycle. And money, like breath, must be invited to dance with you. Not commanded, not demanded, not feared. Belief shapes the blueprint, but ritual seals the frequency. Without embodiment, desires remain whispers in darkness, half-formed signals lost in fear's static. You cannot think your way into wealth. You must anchor it, live it, ritualize it, until your nervous system stops flinching and starts remembering. Before influencers sold manifestation courses, before coaches trademarked abundance techniques, there existed voices whose words still vibrate with unsettling clarity. They didn't peddle shortcuts, they revealed laws. Neville Goddard, a mystic whose teachings unnerve the modern mind because they make one truth undeniable: you are the operant power. Not victim, not pawn, not hopeful receiver of divine scraps, but the source itself, shaping reality through the unseen mechanics of feeling. His core truth pierced through illusion. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. Your outer world forms not through wish lists or vision boards, but through the assumptions you live from daily. He called it living in the end, not visualizing as spectator, but entering the scene of your fulfilled desire as if it were memory. Because the subconscious distinguishes not between real and imagined, it accepts what repeats emotionally. That's why affirmations whispered with doubt yield nothing, but a single assumption felt deeply and lived as truth can bend time itself. Feeling is the secret, Neville declared. Not surface emotions, deeper embodied states. The kind you don't perform but fall into, like sleep. Sleep, another key in his method. He taught that what you feel as true in moments before sleep enters the subconscious unfiltered. So he offered this practice. Revise your day. Lie still. Reimagine moments that wounded. Rewrite them in feeling. Did someone disrespect you? Imagine them honoring you instead. Did you lose a sale? Imagine the contract signed and paid, not as fantasy but as fact. Rehearse it in the emotional tone of already done. Because to the subconscious, repetition equals reality. And reality, once impressed inwardly, must express outwardly. Neville called this the law. Not wish, not gamble, but immutable law of consciousness. What you assume persistently, emotionally, without doubt, must manifest, because it already exists in the unseen. Here lies the challenge. Most assume from lack. They visualize wealth while feeling poor. They speak of abundance while bracing for bills. That contradiction neutralizes the field. While Neville taught the mystery of feeling, another voice carved the architecture of thought, Ernest Holmes. A man less mentioned, yet whose teachings formed the skeleton behind every modern self-help movement. Holmes spoke not of religion or salvation, but of law, of universal mind, infinite and responsive, echoing back whatever you plant within it. He called it the law of mind in action. Simple, settling, absolute. What you believe with conviction, the field mirrors without question. He introduced the concept of mental equivalent, that to receive something in form, you must first create its equivalent in thought and identity. Want more money? Don't chase it. Don't beg for it. Become the person who holds it with grace. The version of you who doesn't apologize for wanting more, who no longer addicts to struggle. He knew most people weren't broke because of the world. They were broke because their mental image of themselves shaped by fear, guilt, and inheritance. So he declared, shift the image and the form must follow. Not hope, law. You can earn it, find it, steal it, hell, you can even win the lottery. But if you carry a poor frequency, money will leave you fast, relentless, and without concern for why. Money doesn't arrive because you're good or kind or even deserving. It responds to frequency. It answers belief. It bows to resonance. You don't get money. You call it, attract it, pull it toward you like a magnet, like a force of nature, like something that was always yours. Do magnets beg metal to approach them? Do suns chase planets? No. And money follows the same principle. The more you chase it, the faster it runs. But when you embody wealth, you pull without asking, without effort. Everything exists as energy. One of the deepest spiritual laws ever recorded states this clearly. The law of magnetism, like attracts like. It moves by law, not random chance. You're not a beggar in this universe. You are a living magnet. And wealth, like all forms of energy, responds to resonance. But here's what most miss. Money possesses a magical quality. It doesn't just sit in wallets or banks or under mattresses. It lives in your psyche. It's one of the few things on earth that can hijack a person's entire nervous system. Money makes people act strange, greedy, desperate, compulsive. Why? It's not that money pulls people. It's that people pour meaning into it. Then that meaning pulls them. And here lies the paradox. The more meaning you attach to money, the more power it holds over you, and the less magnetic you become. Because when money becomes your source, you forget you are the source. When you place money on a pedestal, you separate from it. You chase, you kneel, and your magnetic pull collapses. But here's the actual truth. You're not chasing paper or cash. You're chasing an energy state. You think that paper will bring security, power, relief, freedom, peace. But you can activate that energy right now. And the moment you do, money gets pulled in like iron to a magnet, not because you deserve or earned it, but because your energy field finally became a match. That's how you pull money without moving an inch. Just as every magnet has two poles, a charge and a field, humans operate identically. Even Earth itself builds this way. Right now, you carry an electromagnetic field around your body at all times, from birth until your final breath. The moment you understand how to control this energy field, wealth becomes automatic, effortless, instant. Money isn't deaf, it's listening to your frequency. It's tuned to your hidden beliefs. If wealth isn't rushing toward you, if it isn't flooding your life, then somewhere deep down you're broadcasting resistance, transmitting fear, doubt, shame, guilt. Understand this clearly. Your subconscious mind operates as a silent radio tower, always transmitting, always broadcasting your deepest beliefs about wealth. And money, like a tuning fork, matches exactly what you send out. This isn't poetry or theory, it's quantum physics. Confirmed, proven, real. Every single dollar you've gained or lost perfectly reflected your subconscious signals. Your conscious wants meant nothing. What mattered was your hidden belief, your silent command about what you deserved. The biggest secret isn't how to manifest more, it's how to stabilize what you've already touched. The version of you that pulled money in, you've already met them. The problem isn't attraction, it's consistency. You visit alignment but live in survival. You hit wealth frequency like a high note, then drop out of tune when doubt appears. Let's fix that. Because magnetism isn't intensity, it's consistency. You don't need to scream your worth, you need to hold your tone. Think of it like a radio tower broadcasting 24/7, always on, always transmitting. You don't need to shout into the microphone, you need to tune the frequency and leave it alone. That's what this phase addresses. Locking in the dial, making the wealth state unshakable regardless of external circumstances. The real test isn't whether you can feel rich during a high point. It's whether you can stay magnetic when nothing's happening. In the silence, in the delay, in the void. That's where 99% of people collapse. They say, I did the work, I felt the frequency, why hasn't it landed? And right there, boom, the field resets, back to doubt, back to waiting, back to searching. Searching kills magnetism, because to search signals, it's not here, and that breaks the field. Here's a brutal but beautiful truth. Those who receive fastest aren't the loudest, they're the quietest. They've made wealth so normal, they don't flinch when it's not visible. They've trained their bodies to say, it's done. Whether it's in the bank or not doesn't change the truth. That's the level we're stepping into now, where identity takes over, where frequency becomes familiar, where wealth stops being a spike and becomes the floor you stand on. So how do we reach this state? We stop reacting. We start anchoring. Here are the 5 anchors of wealth stabilization. Anchor 1, neutrality over need. Need broadcasts loudly, need leaks energy, need declares I'm incomplete. Neutrality, however, magnetizes. It says with or without it, I'm already whole. And because I'm whole, I can hold. Train yourself to observe money like weather. Appreciate sunshine, don't panic in rain. Anchor 2, sensory rehearsal. Daily replay the future from inside your body. Not visualizations, not daydreams, but full sensory memory of the reality you've already claimed. What does the car smell like? What does the room feel like? What are you wearing when the payment arrives? Anchor 3, response ritual. To maintain frequency, stop reacting to the physical world as you once did. When bills arrive early, don't spiral. When sales fall through, don't self-attack. Instead, smile, breathe, bless the space. Say good, more is coming now. Every non-reaction signals to the field, I'm different now. Anchor 4, daily command line. Each morning, install truth aloud with breath. My field is locked. My signal is strong. I don't chase, I attract. I don't wish, I confirm. Wealth isn't coming, it's already responding. Repeat until it stops feeling like script and starts feeling like remembering. Anchor 5, evidence tracking. You're already pulling wealth, but without tracking, your brain deletes it. Start recording the signs. The free coffee, unexpected check, discount you didn't plan for, opportunity you forgot you asked for. Write them down daily. Call it the magnetic log. Here's why. What you recognize expands. What you ignore contracts. You don't need to peak to pull. You need to hold your baseline. You need to remain unchanging in your truth, that you are already the magnet, that the current already flows, that the field already responds. You're not trying to get rich. You're stabilizing a version of you that never doubts it's done. You're not hoping, you're holding. You're not scripting, you're confirming. And every second you maintain this state, wealth draws closer, not by miles, but by momentum. The ancient alchemists understood a truth modern science now confirms. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. And in this moment, a transformation has begun within you. Not because you learned something new, but because you remembered something ancient, a truth your soul has always known. Money was never meant to be your master, it was designed as your mirror, a perfect reflection of the frequency you embody. And now that you understand the laws governing this reflection, nothing can ever be the same. The veil has lifted, the spell has broken, the separation has ended. From this moment forward, you'll notice subtle shifts, opportunities appearing without effort, resources flowing from unexpected sources, synchronicities that once seemed random, now revealing their perfect design. These aren't coincidences, they're confirmations, evidence that your field has already begun to recalibrate. But remember, this isn't about accumulating paper or digits, it's about reclaiming sovereignty. It's about remembering that you were never meant to beg for abundance, you were born to embody it. You were never meant to chase prosperity, you were designed to radiate it. The journey ahead isn't about becoming someone new, it's about unbecoming everything you were programmed to be. Unlearning the limitations, unraveling the conditioning, unbinding the energy that's been frozen in fear for generations. This path requires courage, not because it's difficult, but because it's unfamiliar. The world will continue offering you reasons to doubt, opportunities to contract, invitations to return to the old frequency. But now you know better. Now you recognize the game. Now you understand the choice. And it is always a choice, moment by moment, breath by breath. Will you align with lack or abundance? Will you broadcast fear or faith? Will you live from the old story or the new frequency? The answer creates your reality. Not someday, not eventually, instantly. Because energy doesn't wait, it doesn't judge, it simply responds. So as this transmission concludes, know this isn't an ending, it's an activation, a recoding of your energetic DNA, a remembering of what your soul has always known, that you are the source, not the seeker. The creator, not the beggar. The magnet, not the metal. Your soul guided you to this knowledge at precisely the right moment. Not by accident, but by divine orchestration. You're part of a sacred lineage now, those who've pierced the veil of illusion and reclaimed their power to shape reality through frequency. The wealth codes you've received today have been guarded for centuries, shared only among those ready to wield their creative force responsibly. Now they've been entrusted to you, not because you're lucky, but because you're ready. The universe is waiting for your signal. Your field is primed for transformation. Your abundance is already in motion, rushing toward you at the speed of belief. Will you step into this new frequency today? Or will you wait for permission that never needed to be given? The choice is yours. But know this, the moment of power is always now. Not tomorrow, not someday. This breath, this heartbeat, this exact point of creation. The wealth you seek has always been seeking you. The only question is, will you finally allow yourself to be found? If these revelations about money as energy have awakened something deep within you, a recognition of the divine abundance that's always been your birthright, drop a comment saying frequency shift, and subscribe for more videos on esoteric wisdom, ancient manifestation techniques, and the hidden mechanics of universal law. Your journey of energetic wealth has only just begun, and the next transmission awaits those who have ears to hear and hearts ready to receive. The door has opened. Will you step through?